Welcome everyone to the Future of RIA Technology 2026. My name is Sheree Spiller. I'm the founder of Level Best and the creator of FinOps Co-op, and I will be monitoring today's session. I'm really excited about today because we have three amazing partners here with us. We have Aubrey Jones from Redtel, Nora Gallegos from Precise FP, and then we have Chris Gonzalez from G So thank you all three for being here. If you didn't, if I'm sure you all know them, but if you don't, all four of us work with RIAs every single day, and we are in the fintech trenches every single day as well. So if you are an ops pro working the back end of an RIA firm or an advisor working alongside an ops team, like you are definitely in the right place. So two things I want to talk about, just two housekeeping things. So since we are 100% remote, I want us to be very intentional about how we communicate today. So I see that you already know how to use the chat, but I want you to keep that live throughout the session because just because we're remote doesn't mean we can't have meaningful conversation. Second piece, you are going to get amazing content, amazing tips today, and you may have some questions. So, anytime a question comes to mind, what I want you to do is just put that in the chat. I myself forget things all the time. So, don't wait, just put it in there. Our team on the back end is going to make sure they grab those questions and we have dedicated time for Q&A. So, just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're still following me. All right. Thank you. Okay, next I want to go into the agenda so you can understand how we're going to utilize this next hour. So we have four things that we want to discuss today. So first thing we're going to talk about is the panelist discussion. So we are going to talk about what we are seeing day in and day out with RIAs, how some firms leverage their technology while others don't. We're going to unpack that. Second piece, my favorite, we are going to do what we call micro demos. So the three partners that we have today, they each will go over a 5-minute demo of their technology tool. And the goal here is to really help you have one quick win for today. So we're not wasting any time. Third, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to dive right into Q&A after that. And then number 4, I want to talk to you about how you can take your operations from reactive to proactive. And that's when we're going to talk about FinOps Co-op and how you can work alongside other operations professionals to scale your practice. So I want to take a quick moment to talk to you about why I wanted to have this session. So over the past 10 years, which I can't believe 10 years, I've been an operations consultant in the industry. So I've worked with firms across the country, helping them select technology, implement technology, and roll it out to their teams. But there's one consistent problem that I keep seeing across the RIA space is that operations is treated like a never-ending project at their firm rather than a function of their business. And it sounds like not a big deal, but what happens is that processes start to break, technology doesn't get adopted, and there's lack of role clarity. And so, what I want to do today is just really unpack that with the panelists that we have today. And then at the end, if you're like, you know what, this is something that I really need to fix at my firm, I really want to encourage you to apply to FinOps Co-op again, because I think it's going to be really important and also take time with these technology tools that you're going to see today. So now I want to introduce all of our amazing panelists. So Aubrey, I'm going to start with you. So Aubrey Jones is the manager of external training at Redtel. She helps advisors implement their CRM effectively across organizations. And then we have Nora Gallegos from Precise FP. She's the financial planning content thought leader and works with firms across the industry on improving planning processes and workflows. And finally, Chris, because ladies first, we have to save you for last. We have Chris Gonzalez, Senior Partner Relationship Manager at G Reminders, helping advisory firms modernize operations through integrations, workflow strategy, and automation. Overall, fintech gurus. So, are you guys ready to get started? If you're ready to dive into this discussion, just say ready in the chat, and we are going to get this show on the road. So, Nora, I want to start with you. So when we were preparing for the session, we were talking about pattern recognition, right? How firms can get out of that hamster wheel. So my question to you, what separates firms that actually get leverage from their technology from those who just keep adding tools or do nothing at all?
Yes, thank you so much, Charisse, and the whole FinOps team, because thank you. This webinar, putting it together was so much work and was so organized and well done. And I just love being with our partners here. I think that the companies are great, but the people behind it are even better. So I'm so excited to be here. What I have to say, I've worked with hundreds of offices, and it really blows my mind how the average number of subscriptions that firms have right now is anywhere between 12 and 15. And some of those are client facing, and clients are seeing multiple different logos at once, and some are going to be helping internally. But when you're getting to that sort of number of technology, you're really just collecting a bunch of subscriptions and not really having a tech stack. So I definitely would invite you and suggest for you to be very picky and kind of nimble and really assess your tech stack consistently and really just think of your end goal. I always suggest for offices to be constantly thinking of that end goal, especially with AI in the picture now. There's so much capability of, I want things to be this way, and I want this as the advisor, or I want this as the operations expert. And I feel like the more you have your eye on that, you could work backwards and fit in the different technology into your end goal. And then also, I know I'm biased because I love webinars. I'm always scheduling them and trying to join them. But you have to join sessions like this in order to continuously learn, right? It's kind of like that situation of you don't know what you don't know. So you can jump on a session with any of our partners here and just find out what other advisors are doing, what other consultants are suggesting or seeing, and that will kind of allow you to continuously improve. So I would say just think of your end goal. If you want a Ritz Carlton premier experience for your clients, if you as an operations, you want the information faster, you want it to get to where it needs to go faster, if you as an advisor, you want a nice succinct, Word document printed out during meetings, think of those things and then work backwards, and that'll kind of help your tech stack situation.
I love that. I'm just thinking intention in my head with everything you just said. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I really agree with a lot of what Nora said there, especially with that latter part. But I, as far as if we're talking about process management too, on top of it, of like, hey, what can we do to almost double down on a lot of what we're doing with automation is, you know, I think that making how do I put this right here? I think getting rid of a lot of the process of manual entry, right? So, like, if you're going through and having to manually put in notes, manually put in calendar information, manually put in contact information, which we'll kind of talk a little bit about in the future here on like how Precise FP works and how Redtail works and all that fun stuff. But I think what it ends up allowing you to do, and this is what Nora was kind of stating, is you can run the business how you want to run the business, right? So are you going to be then saying, hey, I'm going to make this company very customer centric, and we're going to go all in on that. Well, this gives you, or where kind of things are going, is it's giving you the ability to one, focus on that with your clients, which means there's a number of kind of topics I can kind of go into, but to kind of keep it short is, which means you can stop and say, okay, well, if a client calls in, I'm going to make sure that I'm available for them. You also have the ability to go to your staff and say, you know, I want you guys to be on the same level as I am, right? You can set the expectation for your staff, which I think are two big pillars of kind of defining the path of where you want to go.
Yeah, I love that. Aubrey, I want to come to you. So Chris did mention like doubling down and what firms should do. Like, do you have anything on what firms should double down on when it comes to like AI, automation, or workflows?
100%. I love both of their answers because they're 100% right. The thing that I always think of is that we spend all of this time prospecting and building relationships with our clients, and then we turn around and spend 80% of our day doing admin work. And so really figuring out like where can we improve service and where can we spend more time with our clients and where can we build those relationships and continue doing that is where your tech stack will thrive. So finding workflows that actually work for you, not just make a checklist that you feel like you have to do all the time. Figuring out how to find integrations that work with your CRM that actually make your life easier. They're not just what everyone is using or just what's hot right now. Actually going through and vetting the integrations that you have. A tech stack is wonderful, but it's really not a tech stack if it doesn't work together, if it doesn't speak with other things. So I do really think that what they both said is important because intention is important, thinking through what automations look like. But then when you start thinking about AI, there are a lot of great AI platforms out there and a lot of different ways to incorporate AI in your life. You need to figure out where it's going to be right for your firm, and being mindful is so important because it's not one size fits all the time.
Yeah. Whew. I told you guys there was a lot of gems with everything that was just said. I do want to add to it. So like there's a 3-step process I think you all hit on. I say streamline, automate, delegate. So streamline your processes, eliminate the fluff. Once you have that process defined, then you automate it because you don't want to automate error. And then what's left, you delegate the rest. And that's how you build a scalable system rather than having teams, to Chris's point, do manual work when it can be automated now where we're at. So Aubrey, I just want you to I want to pick back up with you. Um, so what's a common misconception that you think firms have about technology that you would say is wrong?
Yeah, I always think that it's so easy to say it doesn't work for me. When we don't know things, it's really easy to feel that frustration, that friction of this isn't the solution anymore and go and look for something new and want to trade and want to do things. When you're working with technology, you've vetted it, you've gone through the process. With Red Tail, you get 100% free training. So we have weekly webinars, we have training videos, we have a whole support desk. And when I work with offices that have said, we feel like this process doesn't work. 90% of the time we go through it and it was just a learning moment. It was just something where it did work, it just wasn't quite what they were thinking it would be. So I encourage anyone, anytime you're working with tech, to go through any sort of training that you can, look at those processes more on a deeper level, because a lot of times it is more about the intention of the integration or of the product itself versus what we already kind of have in our heads. I just tried to put a recliner together at home this week and I completely got it wrong. It was really embarrassing, but then went back and as it turns out, it was the easiest solution ever. So my misconception of what it should be versus what I literally do for a job did not connect. And so I do think that there's huge opportunity in tech training to just kind of level up your use.
Mm, I love that. And if you are already a part of, like, you have that fintech ecosystem, Nora said 12 to 15 systems, all of you, all of the companies that you're with, you want your users that have success. So I think that's a great point, Aubrey. Nora, anything to add there? So anything you want to share where you think, some firms get wrong with technology?
Yeah, and I don't wanna be controversial saying this, but it's definitely gonna be that statement I have heard all throughout my career when people will say, "The client isn't going to do this." I've heard that nonstop, and I think it's one of the most outdated assumptions out there today. I think that we've reached a point where seniors are using technology just as much as teenagers are using technology. They're scheduling family reunions on Facebook events. They're sending memes. They're FaceTiming their grandchildren. across the US. So I think that what we can do better operationally is just be very clear and communicative, sit across from them at the meeting, let them know by the time you get home, there will be a message in your inbox. You click on that link, it'll take about 10 minutes. Some sort of clear direction and timeline is going to allow them that confidence to complete it. And their bank does it, their doctor does it, their insurance company does it. So I think if we're kind of holding on to processes or paper or things like that because we think that's what the client needs or the client wants, it's it's more of an internal commitment that needs to change. And by all means, still offer that white glove service to some clients where you're going to fill it out on their behalf, but definitely don't anchor down to something like a fillable PDF or pen and paper, uh, just to kind of think that that's how the client is going to do it.
Yeah, and to echo that a little bit too, Nora, is we see that all the time too. Because right, with your reminders, we do scheduling, right? And so people are like, well, that's part of my value prop. Part of my value prop is reaching out on the phone and saying, hey, it's time to book your appointment. But what we kind of say too, and we echo literally what you're saying, is do you need to offer that to every single client? Right? That's fine. If you're going to be doing that for the top 20, top 30, top 10% of your clients, that's fantastic. That is a great service to offer. I agree with it. But do we need to do it with every single one of your clients? And I think that that's where it kind of starts opening up opportunities to streamline. When we're able to streamline a solid percentage of our client base, it creates more revenue in the long run. You're able to meet with more people. You're able to, put in more process. You're able to gather more data, and it creates just more.
Yeah. I hope you all heard that because I have to agree too. I think a lot of firms get attached to the systems that they build. And with technology is innovation and evolution. And sometimes it is a little bit tough to keep up. But I think this is a big challenge for everyone. I think this is one of our quick wins for today. Really think about how you can let go of that mindset and start leaning more into innovation for your firm. So Aubrey, I want to come back to you. What something firms need to stop doing immediately if they want their technology to scale with them on the topic of evolution and innovation?
I mean, I would say they need to stop shopping for new tools if they aren't currently thinking about what architecture they have. It's the same thing. If you don't open your fridge before you go grocery shopping, you're going to come home and you already have 15 bottles of ketchup because you're never going back and looking at what you have. So I highly recommend the presentations that we're doing today are incredible and excellent. And we want to talk to you and want to make sure that you know what we do. But you want to make sure that your tech stack works for you and works with you. And if you don't know how your current tech stack works and how that fits into the architecture of what you're using, you don't really know what you're shopping for. You don't know what you're looking for. And so just really getting to know what you have so that then you can start looking at things and going, these two things do come together in a tool with Precise FP. These things could all be covered by G reminders, and all of these things integrate into my CRM with Redtail versus just kind of going out and going, oh, I heard of this one thing and I heard of this other. Just makes a lot more sense.
Yes, I love that, Aubrey, that connection. I mean, in the chat, if raise your hand, how many of you have grabbed a thing of ketchup and you have ketchup in the fridge already, or you think you need eggs or milk? And so I think that's a great thing to think about in business, right? Like making sure I see overlaps all the time with document management or different tools. So thank you for that. I want to go over to Chris on this as well. Anything you want to add to what's one thing firms need to stop doing immediately in order to scale their technology with them?
Yeah, I mean, to echo a little bit of what Aubrey said is, the most technically inclined team. So I get the pleasure of working with a lot of broker dealers and a lot of large RIAs. So I get to see like firsthand how they operate. And a lot of the ones that are very, very technically inclined, they know exactly what they're looking for. And so that's kind of Aubrey's point is like, hey, stop just looking for software because it's there. Look at your internal processes and figure out what's missing. Right. I have people come to me at GeoMinders and they'll just tell me saying, hey, we don't have anything that does scheduling. That's what we need. Right. And so we fit into their tech stack. But that's essentially, when we are working with the more technically inclined ones, they always have someone that's in the office, or they have some staff member that goes to everybody and is like, all right, where are the gaps? Let's
Yeah.
find. And then they use software to fill in those gaps. But I mean, to answer the question too, I mean, I also think that ease of use is a really big one, right? I think if we can't get people to use the product, um, that's where it creates a lot of friction. So I would say, too, is creating good processes in place that allow advisors and everyone that's under in the staff to use the product fully to its, again, to its full potential. It really eliminates a lot of the issues that people were having in the first place. Like, so it's really difficult to say, hey, stop doing this thing. But I could say there's a lot of things that your product and a lot of features that your products that you currently have now do. Let's stop and take a look and see, like, what is the issue that you're running into and how can the software that you're currently using solve that? And I'm sure, Sharice, that is one of the first things that you do when you're talking to the firm for the first time.
Yeah. Yes, of course. I agree. I agree with both of you. Nora, we have a couple minutes left for this panel discussion. What's one thing that you think firms need to stop doing in order to have their technology scale with them?
I'm gonna go with dropping the friction. I know as an operations team, I just feel like you have to speak up. You have to let your advisor know. Like, if you just throw out for an example, if you want to open up a brokerage account, we could use our phone right now and open it up in 4 minutes, right? I can apply for a mortgage without talking to a single person. So, you as an operations person, you know what you need to open up a new account or what you need to start a financial plan. So, being able to get that information you need faster and then get it where it needs to go faster, it's going to be able to drive those results faster to those clients and not give them those spare extra moments to kind of rethink their decisions or make, incorrect assumptions about working with your office. So just whether that friction is a PDF or that friction is questions in an incorrect order or having to call a client and awkwardly ask them what their spouse's account balance is. Whatever it is, just try to cut that friction down as much as possible.
Thank you. No, that was amazing. So here's your three quick tips. We don't want to waste time, right? Drop the friction, stop shopping, and stop solving for every problem. Solve for only the gaps. That's what Chris said. So that was our panelist discussion. Now we're going to move into our micro demos, which I'm excited about. Nora, we are going to start off with you. So just a reminder, everyone, each person is going to do a 5-minute demo of their technology. Nora, I'll pass it to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And same thing here, if I gloss over something or you want to hear something again, definitely let me know. But for today's demo with Precise FP, I wanted to talk about 3 Ps. The first P would be pre-filled. The second P is going to be personalization. And the third P is going to be pushing out data. I think that Precise FP at its core is really going to be able to address these things and help you provide that premier firm experience to your clients. And then you, as the operations, be able to get what you need faster, better, in a more convenient way, in a way that's, nimble and able to adapt as the industry changes or as, your team changes. So the first thing I want to show is if I go to accounts and I go to all accounts, you're going to have this plus sign here in the top right hand corner, and you're going to have this import button here. So this part is really important because you're going to be able to pull contacts from your different software into Precise FP. So Redtail is a perfect example. If you are using Redtail correctly, you are putting everything into Redtail. So, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened. If they change their address, if they get a new dog, a grandchild was born, right? You're putting that into Redtail. So a good first step is to go over here and import them in from Redtail. And you just type in the first few letters of somebody's name, and it'll pull up a drop down for you to go ahead and import them in. And then within seconds, it'll go ahead and have that entire profile over. And I always like to quantify it because it's literally more than 100 fields that are coming over. So as long as you're keeping Redtail clean, you could pull that data into Precise FP. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is personalizing. So, once you see all of the things that you've added for, let's say, Tommy, who I just pulled up, maybe he did get a new dog. Maybe he did get a new grandchild. Maybe he changed jobs. Maybe he bought a summer house. Start to copy those things and personalize his next engagement that you're going to send with him. And most likely, what you're going to do is you're going to send, in that example where Tom is already a client, you're going to send him a form like this that's called personal information review. This is great for data maintenance because what you're going to do here is you're going to take all of the information that you have on file for Tom and you're going to put it in front of him and you're going to say, hey, if anything's missing or incorrect, I'm pretty sure I got it all. But if I missed anything, put it into this form and then you'll push it back to Redtail to update everything. So what I like to talk about here is personalizing it. This initial paragraph is great and clear and wonderful, but you could take it even further. You could update it with AI now, which I love. AI for right now is being able to hyper personalize things. So you could say, this is going to Tom. I'll just say Tom changed jobs and had a new grandchild and bought a summer house. And we always joke around about the Suns losing or whatever it is. So you have a relationship with this person. You can probably help your team really create a good prompt there. I just kind of thought of something on the top of my head and we'll see what the AI comes up with. But you'll notice it's all prompt based here. So I just put in a nice little prompt there and you'll notice that the whole entire paragraph changed. So here I heard you change jobs, welcomed a new grandchild, and even bought a summer house. Congratulations on all that. And yes, we'll try not to give the Suns too hard of a time, but no promises. See, that's super lighthearted, super fun, super sweet. And it's a way to just make them feel like they're your only client, and you don't have, a book of business of 200 behind him. So I would say to pre-fill, once I send this to Tom, or in this case, I have a contact record for Annie, so I could just choose to send this form to this family, and I could choose that one that I was just working with. And what this will do is it'll go ahead and take that form and pre-fill it with all of this family's information. So you're never sending them a blank form. It's always going to have all of the information that you have on file with them. So their job is just to go ahead and change anything that's missing or incorrect. And they could even ask to be shown what you have on file with them so that way they can give it a quick review and make sure that everything is correct. And then the big cherry on top, the reason why people love Precise FP is being able to export all of that information. So what I'm showing right now is for data maintenance, making sure that the information on file is clean and up to date. Once they make those changes, you export it back to Redtail and it'll update whatever's there. You can send it back to eMoney or Right Capital or wherever it needs to go, and it'll update all of the information there. So it eliminates that data entry.
Nora, I just wanted to jump in real quick.
Yes.
You have Redtail in here as an integration. And so the next 5-minute demo we have is Aubrey. And so if you're okay with that, I do want to pass off to Aubrey because I think this is a great transition point for her.
When we think about Redtail, and I'm doing a lot of trainings, even the most seasoned people, I ask a lot of the same questions. And one of the first questions that I actually ask is, are you utilizing templates? Templates are a powerhouse of Redtail. They allow you not only to provide consistency to whoever is using Redtail, but also allow for better reporting, better searching. It just is a better process to utilize them. And so when we come to our name in the upper right-hand corner, you can click on Manage Your Account. And templates are something that are available to everyone. They are not hidden behind the admin block. And so you can actually see this whole section has Manage Templates. And what I wanted to talk with you about today is about a client meeting kind of workflow as a whole. And anytime we do a client meeting, creating an activity template first can be really helpful. That way, anytime that I have a meeting with that client, I can have some sort of a template for it. You'll notice we have a lot already created, but they're really easy to create. We just click on New, and I can name my template, choose a subject line, and then also choose my type and category. This is what circles us back to that reporting aspect. If I want to run a list of all of my client meetings that I've done this quarter, I need to have that segmented out. Now, you will notice that I already have one for a client review. And when that actually happens, it pre-fills, and I can even put things in the description. Don't forget to send the agenda. Whatever you need here, you can add for that. Now, the second part of that, I'm going to come back to our name, go to manage your account. The second thing we usually think of with activities is there's usually a workflow as well as the activity itself. We've added an activity to the calendar, and now I want a workflow to trigger that makes sure that I do this right. Something that's really great that we added to Redtail is that when you come up to create a new template, you can still build a workflow from scratch, but we also have our workflow template library. This actually allows you to come in and say, I want to use what Redtail has already created, but edit it to make it my own. So you can actually really easily select the one that you want, click on import. I always like to click view most recent. It makes it easier. And now here's that workflow. I can click in and begin editing it to make it match my process. So anytime that you're doing that client meeting now, 1 week before, I've got that confirmation. 2 days before, I have my prep going. And so all of those pieces fit together, but it's a lot better when you can automate it. And so again, we'll come to our name, click on Manage Your Account. And from here, I can then build out automation templates. And we have all of this on our help desk with suggestions, sample templates, all of that. But now you can see I have a client review automation, and I can build out an automation that says anytime we add an activity, link my client review meeting workflow if the category is client review. And we usually have a type there, but that works too. Activity type is or category is equal to client review. Now, if you have that you only want this to go when it's a certain activity type, whether it's a phone call or in person or Zoom, you could add that type as well. The last piece of this is obviously when you get done with a meeting of any sort, we want to add a note, and we also have note templates. If you want those notes to look exactly the same every single time, you can come in and here's my client review meeting notes, and I can easily fill out exactly what I need. So building those templates is huge. And now I'm going to show you the process as a whole. So I'm an advisor. I've called and scheduled a meeting, or a client has been in and we've scheduled. All I need to do is come up to create activity. But because I want you to see the magic actually happen, I'm going to come into Cosmo Orion. Now, Cosmo is one of my clients. He's super great, very cute. If you ask me, the glasses really just make his face. But I can come in and see he currently has one active workflow. But I'm going to come up to the create icon and click on activities. And now I can use my client review template. So automatically, because that category is client review, my automation is going to work and my automation is going to link my workflow. So now Cosmo told me he can come in on the 31st of this month. I can put whatever time I'd like. And now I can just click create activity. And as this page refreshes, boom, active workflow. So now I have my activity template. I have my client review. Here's my meeting that I set up, target date 3/31. I can click on that. And now I have all of my to-dos. And you'll remember one of these is to enter my notes. Really easily, I can come up to my create icon, click on notes, choose my client review. So here's my client review meeting notes, go in and fill out, click save, and I'm done. So when you think about Redtail as a whole, there are so many pieces that can really help you just level up your process. I didn't need to go in and make my activity and manually launch my workflow and then go in and try to figure out how to organize my notes so that my admins know exactly what to do. The cherry on top of all of this is that you can actually pre-select to create a follow-up activity in your note. So if there is something that we need to do after this review, I can go ahead and select my template for the next activity, save my note, and immediately there's my new activity. So I know I have it to do. I can start working on that activity, assign it to the person that needs to handle it, and really easily, my note is already linked to this. So I can easily click in as an admin and see, oh, here are all of my to-dos. This is what that relates to. And now I can go in and make that a function of my day. So anytime you're using Redtail, I highly recommend you lean on templates. They're going to make your life easier. When you work with integration partners like we have, like Precise FP and G Reminders, there are pieces that you get that actually make more automation and make things flow into Redtail and leave Redtail a lot better. So anytime you're thinking about building your tech stack, one of the things you can do is come to your question mark, click on open support page, and go to our help desk. If you search integration partners, you can actually pull up their pages as well and kind of look and see how they work with Redtail. But thank you guys for the time today. I am so grateful that you had me.
Thank you so much. Chris, we will pass it over to you.
What GReminders is, and I'll kind of just run through like what we are as a program real fast. So we are scheduling a reminding system, pre-meeting prep, and note taker. So we do a number of different things, I guess you could say, because from really meeting management as a whole, we play a role in, right? So from the very initial reach out all the way to getting notes back into the CRM, we play a role. Now you can see, I mean, this is our platform, this is our UI, and you can see like here's, sharing your link. So again, you have a booking link, you have client reminders. You can just jump in and set up when a client books, send them a text message saying they booked and we're excited to see them. Very basic stuff, right? A lot of this is just set it up once and you never really have to come back into this platform. And I think that is the case even more so because beforehand you had, the one thing that you would have to come into GReminders is, go to greminders.com and log in, and then you would see our note taker and all of your meeting history. But now we've integrated directly with Redtail to build this into Redtail itself. So if we go over to AI Note Taker, we're now built directly and embedded directly into Redtail, and it should look a little familiar, right? That's GReminders, and this is the GReminder Note Taker, and this is where the summaries get sent to. But they're now also in your CRM, which makes it a little bit easier. All right. So we can always, jump into GReminders to do, hey, what does my link look like? Or when I go to our website, how do I get bookings set up? And, and I can go through and I have advanced, routings and things like that too. So, from scheduling all the way down to, the note taking, we play a role in, right? But I want to spend a little bit of time to go into what we've done with the Redtail integration, because this is actually pretty new. And I think a lot of what Aubrey talked about too with using templates pertains to us too, because you can even have a lot of our notes and our summaries utilize those templates. So if you have templates for notes in there already, or you build them out, you can build those with us too. It's a simple, just take what you have in there and give that to us, and we'll abide by the same exact rules. But if we want to look at the note taker itself, Built into Redtail, we can pull up a meeting summary. And this is essentially the page that you'll see when you first log in. Let me pull this one up instead. This is the page that you see when all of your summaries are in, right? So you have 3 or 4 calls in the day. That's the page where you see all of them. When you click on it, it allows you to delve a little bit deeper into these. And then you can take these and essentially send them back into Redtail or into the correct contact. So here's your note. This is what you guys talked about. Again, this is just Phil and his client Mary working together. They went through a bunch of different things together. Here's the note. There's a financial table that kind of gives you like every number that was stated. But again, if you wanted this note to more closely follow some of your templates, you could. You just simply tell us and we stick to them. If you think it's a little bit too wordy, we just change it. You can go in and change the setting to how many words can be in each note. But the key is it's loaded right into here. So on this page, I can easily just take this, edit. We'll make some changes if need be. For instance, maybe we don't need to have that in the note, so we'll take that out. We'll categorize. And again, we're in Redtail, so this is Redtail's categories. And we'll say this is a pre-meeting, and we'll update that and log it into Redtail. Another thing you can do is you have your workflows that you can manage over to the right. And these workflows are actually suggestive. So a lot of what Aubrey was talking about too is, you guys can create advanced workflows for a number of different tasks. And we will hear the conversation, right? We know you guys talked about moving money, or we know you guys talked about updating contact information, whatever it was. Is that a workflow that you want us to launch, right? And so we'll look at the names of the workflows, we'll look at the descriptions, and then we'll make suggestions based off of that. Another cool thing too is we will give you contextual recommendations on the opportunity side, right? So if specific things were talked about, like for instance, if there was a retirement account consolidation, we knew that's what you guys were discussing. So why don't we create that opportunity for you in Redtail? And it's not just a title, right? Retirement account. No, we go into it and we even quote the conversation, right? This is the reason why we're giving you this opportunity. And so you can come in here, you can set it at steps, you can set the amount that you want to give, put it to the correct stage, and then you can start working that opportunity or at least tracking it. Another fun thing that you can do here is you have action items. So again, all on this one page, you're essentially notating the correct contact. You're creating a workflow, creating an opportunity, and creating action items. And these action items, what they do is essentially, if you have tasks that are coming out of this meeting, you can take this and you can add the right people onto them. So for instance, I'm not the one who's going to provide an RMD schedule for Mary. So let me remove myself and add Tucker onto there. Discuss that. That's going to be me, but I also want my junior advisor to join me. Perfect. And that's it, right? I'm just going through and selecting the tasks. It's already created them for me. Well, this one, we're not going to do actually. So let's delete that. And then we just go through and that creates all of the tasks or follow-ups off of that one call or meeting. So we'll close that. And then the last thing that you can do on this page is to send a follow-up email. And this is going to come directly from your email account. But you click that, it'll AI generate a follow-up to the client. This is, again, very much created by you. So whatever you want this to look like, we can make it look like that, right? So if you want discussion to be bullet pointed and action items to be numbered, that's exactly what we'll do. But you can change it, right? Say, hey, I want discussion to just be 2 sentences, and then I want my action items to be bullet points instead. We'll do that. And you just completely have freedom of however you want these emails to look. And it can even go to the point where you have some older emails and you bring those in to help us define like how you and what your tone is to these email follow-ups. Now, this is the note taker, and this is what's built into Redtail. Those 5 different things that you can kind of do on this page. Do I still have time? I don't know. When did I start?
I think if you want to just wrap up, Chris, and then we can
okay.
move to Q&A.
I'll wrap up with one more thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's the note taker portion, but we also have the pre-meeting prep. We also have the scheduling that I discussed. Now the pre-meeting prep, this is just a click inside of Redtail and it'll generate all of the notes that you've had. Now, obviously this gets better and better through the years of using an AI note taker because the note taker kind of has everything in it. But then this will load and this will show you like, here's everything that we have for Roger. So, in those workflow templates that you're creating, One of them can be, hey, go generate the deck. You go to Roger's account and there you go. Now you have the deck. Well, the advisor specifically likes PDFs. Perfect. We'll export that to a PDF or we'll export it to Word. So that's very easy to do. And then lastly, you're able to share your booking link. And this is contextual to Roger. So if Roger calls you and you're like, okay, yeah, real quick, I need to do a 60-minute call. Done. And you want to meet with who? Phil? Perfect. Phil does 60-minute calls here. We click that. I don't even have to pull his calendar up. I don't. Here it is. And I select 10:30 and I put in all the information for Roger, which is already in because it's contextual. So that's G reminders. That's what we're doing with Redtail. And that's kind of the offering we have: streamlining scheduling, helping with reminders, notating, and getting client prep down to as minimal minutes as possible.
Thank you so much. Round of applause in the chat. I mean, 3 fintech companies. We have a ton of questions. We won't be able to get to all of them, unfortunately. But as everyone went through their session, they did have a CTA you should have saw on the screen. So you should be able to contact the company. So I'm going to dive right into Q&A. So the first question that we have is, what are the 3 top things that we can be doing with AI in the advisor operations space? So feel free if anyone wants to take that.
I'm happy to. I feel like I work with a lot of AI integration partners. I think that the top 3 things you can be doing is figure out what you need. So decide what it is that you need versus just what you would like to have. What do you need? Make sure that everything is actually hitting those targets. But then I would also make sure that it is something that you can see yourself using. Is it something that you feel like your team will actually utilize and it's not just individual to what you're looking for? And then the last part with AI is to make sure that you are actually testing it. Make sure that it is something that you know it is what you're going to use and you're asking a lot of questions. AI is a wonderful thing, but AI means a very broad thing to a lot of people. So ask a lot of questions and be prepared to ask those.
Yeah. And be prepared to spend time on your process, like on the actual prompts. That's the big thing too. Like if you incorporate AI products and you're saying out of the box, go, a lot of times they're not going to do exactly what you want them to do. All right. Think about it, because we all are now starting to understand AI a little bit more because we're all working with like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. Like we're all working with that now. Right. And we understand that, hey, respond to this email. It's terrible. So you have to give it like a lot of information. Hey, me and this person have been working together for 5 years, and you go through all of these data points. And I think that's getting really good at being able to prompt the AI is a big one to make the operations better. Because if you can tell it, hey, this is how I send emails, this is how I take notes, and give it these really advanced descriptions on how you currently operate, it can then take those mundane tasks over and allow you to do just so much more. Run the business how you want to run it, right? Are you going to be more, diving more into growth, diving more into being, a client-centric office? Like what's next for you guys? But at least you get to make that decision because you're not being kind of bogged down by a lot of the AI stuff that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we're really good at like spraying AI forward. But I think taking it backwards is going to be helpful as well, where, let's take our last 10 prospect meetings that didn't close and put that in AI and ask it, what do you think went wrong? What can I do to improve? Or take all of your AI note taking for the past 10 clients and make social media content from it. Kind of more deep business insights is what I'd like to see more of.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. We have a question about AI, and we've been talking about it. They say, I think many of us are in AI overload with all the different options out there with Docs, G reminders. How do we determine which one to go with without adopting too many tools or missing out on something that does have everything?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the way I would approach it is kind of what we were talking about earlier is figure out what exactly where are the gaps that you can improve. And the way I kind of look at it is if you were hired onto your firm as a junior advisor and you were coming in and you were seeing all of your processes from a third party perspective and you were looking at everything, figure out what's missing. And then from there, you can say like, okay, well, this is where AI can help. Or in this case, right, comparing Zox to Geo ask yourself, what does these systems do and where do they kind of fit into what I'm looking for, right? Am I just looking for only a note taker and that's it? Okay, perfect. Well, then let's look at the options that I have. Am I looking for something that's going to be more on the scheduling side, handle reminders? We don't have Calendly in place at all, or we do and we barely use it. Maybe that leans you more towards G reminders. But it just depends on what exactly you guys are going to need. And I think that's what will kind of give you the guidance.
Mhm. Anyone else want to add to that?
I can add just a little bit of flavor with the soon Denali aspect of that. Obviously, with the addition of Summit and Denali with Orion, having the Denali overlay is something that I've been closely aware of and helping with. And it really depends on what sort of insights you're hoping to get. Not all three of those things are exactly alike. And so you are comparing similar things, but they are different. And so actually doing your due diligence when you are comparing AI tools is huge. Obviously, it depends on what is important to you, what is important to the decision makers, because that is going to make a huge difference in what you end up with. And you may find that you start to stack things just based off of gaps, but you need to decide what you want.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I just want to wrap up. I want each of you to give me like your final thought. So take about 60 seconds each. So my question for you is, as technology continues to evolve, what capability does an operations leader need to build now to make sure these tools actually stick?
I think ease of use. I'll go first. Ease of use is the biggest thing. If you have to get your team using the products that you incorporate,
Mhm.
so it's always starts there. And if you are able to essentially make the product dependable, it starts to gain the rest of the office's trust, and then they start utilizing it a lot more. And you can look at that with almost everything. Like with the CRM, if they don't put notes in it, it's worthless, right? It doesn't really do anything. It's a Rolodex. A piece of paper could have done what it does. If you don't use its workflows, if you don't use a lot of the extra bells and whistles of these softwares, it doesn't create it doesn't create trust around the product, right? Sometimes software requires a little extra work in the beginning, but if it is a dependable system, it creates trust amongst its users. Therefore, they all use it and depend on it. And I think that's really the big thing. And it comes down to making it easy to use.
Yeah. Team adoption, you know. So thank you, Chris. I really love that. Nora, I want to pass it to you. What is a capability an operations leader needs in order to make sure their technology sticks at their firm?
I would go back to the firm and start to implement an operations test. I would really empower the operations team to start to be that qualifier of whether a process gets implemented and how it gets continuously adjusted. I would make sure that, same thing. Think of the end goal. If the operations team needs to open this account and this is the account form, really dig deep of, does it need to be in a certain order? Does somebody else need to review it before it gets pushed forward? Really empower the operations team and implement this idea of having an operations test to make sure that they're buying in and that it's really improving their process on their end.
Thank you, Nora. And then Aubrey, last, do you have anything to add about what capability does an operations leader need in order to adopt technology at their firm?
Yeah, they need to be able to provide clarity. One of the things I say over and over at Red Hill University is it is unkind to be unclear. It's a Brene Brown quote that I absolutely love. When we are clear with our teams and provide standard operating procedures and technology direction, that is where technology will stick. When we just throw tools out and just tell people to use them, it doesn't make sense and it's unkind to be unclear. And so providing clarity, I think, as an operations person is the best thing you can possibly do.
That's amazing. And I feel like a lot of ops leaders in the industry are doing that. So thank you so much. Hey, in the chat, let's just give Chris, Aubrey, and Nora a round of applause over and over again, not just for today, but for the work that they're doing in our industry and making sure we continue to stay relevant in the finance space. So thank you all three of you. It's been amazing. We covered so much today, and I hope you all had a few takeaways from this session. But the biggest thing that I think we came here for technology and we ended with operations leadership and role clarity. You need people behind technology in order for it to get adopted in your company. We have these three individuals who are providing big impact in the industry, but you are the people day in and day out using the tools. You're rolling it out to clients, you're rolling it out to team members. And I don't want you to get stuck. Right. And so that's why we are all here. We've built FinOps Co-op. So FinOps Co-op is for operations leaders who want support besides the advisors, the CSAs, all of the other people in the company that don't fall under operations. You're usually managing this technology, selecting this technology alone. And for my CEOs, chief everything officers, if you want to be a true visionary at your firm, identify that ops person in your team who you may want to level up or who needs more support than what you can give. We're offering 20% off of your first 3 months with FinOps Co-op. And this is a taste of the content and the conversations that we're having. So I welcome you all to take a look at that. I welcome you all to grab all of the links that our team have been putting in the chat throughout this entire presentation and take some time to elevate your firm, because we don't want to waste time. We don't want to go back to business as usual, right? When you have amazing tools and resources that Aubrey, Nora, and Chris presented today. So with that said, thank you again, all three of you, for joining us. Thank you all for attending, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. It's been a true honor.